All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little lesson here in the BAME Entrepreneurship Report. We talked about this before Christmas, but I want to make sure that you remember it now that you actually have to do the item. This is one of the two papers that you absolutely have to have on your table when your business is open at the BAME market. You need your BAME business plan signed by me, and that has to be in one of those little plastic sleeves. When I flip that over, I should see your entrepreneurship report. There may be several because you need an entrepreneurship report for each and every product that you have on sale. Remember what the idea of this thing is. The whole purpose is to gather accurate prices for your materials and include everything that goes over the counter. The key thing there is if the customer ends up with it, then you have to account for it. So you don't have to account for the stove or the refrigerator, the cooler, anything at home using towels, pots, and pans. But if you pass something over, if it's just a cookie and you're just giving them the bare cookie, that's all you need. If you put it on a napkin, you have to have the napkin too. You sell a piece of pie and that requires a plastic fork, or a drink and it requires a straw, or somebody needs a plate. Those things all must be included in the price. But include only what's going over the counter, only what you actually use. So if you buy a dozen eggs and you have the receipt for a dozen eggs, you don't charge yourself for all of that if you're only using 2 in your recipe. So make sure everything that goes over you account for, but only in the proportions that you actually use it. All right, folks, let's get in here and do one of these guys. Mr. Goddard, getting up here a little bit. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Okay. Now, if we need to move that up and down, we just shrink down the screen.
Okay. All right. Remember this year up in here that we are not using 6 as the trade value for pesos to dollars. It is $1 is equivalent of 5 pesos. So keep that in mind. I'm going to do a couple. Actually, I'm going to do 3 examples for you. So you go ahead and use this as the basis for understanding, but you need to fill in your own. Remember, if you come back to me on market day or go up to Mr. Goddard, there are more than 140 7th and 8th graders this year. We can't sit with you and do 140 of these businesses or even 60 or 70 of these businesses. That's too much time. We simply don't have it. If you have a question, a specific question, we would be happy to address it. But the important thing is you need to watch this video and you need to give it a try yourself. You need to have the receipt so you know exactly what the price is. Well, I'm going to say that we're doing a very simple item first. We're going to make paper clip necklaces. So the first thing you're going to need is a box of paper clips. And you go over, you shop around, and you decide you can get those least expensively at Joe's hardware store. So you go over, you shop, and you find out that those are $12.95. And that is for 450 paper clips. But you're not going to use 450 paper clips in each necklace. Remember, you're trying to get the cost of one item, each individual product. Well, you're going to be paying $12.95, that's true. All right, $12.95. Translate that into pesos, we multiply it by 5, and that gives you 64.75. So it's 64.75 pesos if we were living in a world where people accepted pesos instead of dollars outside. So you come down here, you total up whatever it is you're using, and you're only using paper clips in this case. So you have spent $12.95. You have spent a total of 64.75 pesos. But you're going to be able to make 18 necklaces out of this. You can make 18 of these things, which means you're going to take the dollar amount and divide it by 18 to find out how much you spent to produce each necklace. And mathematically, $12.95 divided by 18 gives you a dollar price of 72 cents per necklace. 64.75 pesos, also divided by 18, means that you are spending 3.60 pesos to produce each and every necklace. Now, you have your cost basis. This is what it costs you, and you have to have a profit. We don't care how small the profit is. You can't lose money and keep your business open. You can't break even and keep your business open, because that's not what happens in the real world. What in fact you have to do is make a profit, and even if it is 1 peshet, 0.01 pesos, that's enough to show us that you have a functioning business. So at 3.60 pesos for a cost, you would have to sell it technically for at least 3.61 pesos. But since we don't have peshet coins, what you really are going to have to do is sell this product for 4 pesos. So there's your first example, and you can refer back to that simple idea. You list what you purchased, each and every ingredient or piece of material, what the price was you paid. You then put in the dollar amount, translate that times 5 so that you get the number of pesos that were used. Total it at the bottom and divide by the number of units you've made from that total amount of material, and that gives you your per unit price. And you want to write down each or EA after these prices so that someone running by and grading you quickly is going to know what your price or what your cost per product is. So there's the first one, a very simple idea of one piece of material to make a product. Really what you're doing to produce it is you're using your own time and energy. All right. So now we're going to go to something that's still fairly simple, but a little bit more difficult. In this case, you are going to be making art. And you're just going to be drawing with pencil onto cardstock. Cardstock is just thicker paper. You know, if you go out and get a greeting card, it's not simply a piece of 8.5 by 11-inch paper folded over. It's something a little thicker, a little more quality. So you're going to need cardstock. Okay, you have cardstock, and that comes out at $7.11, gives you 500 sheets. Now, in this case, it's going to be easier for you to do the division and find out what you're going to be spending per unit before you do the addition. So here we're just going to be spending a penny a sheet. And translate that into pesos, that would be 0.05 pesos for 1 sheet of cardstock to make your drawing. In addition, you are going to be using a pencil. Now, suppose you shop around and you find out that you can get, for $2.77, you can get 24 pencils. So you buy a pack of 24. Now, you're only using 1 out of the 24. If you divide that out, I'm just going to do a little math on the side to show you, it would have been 12 cents per pencil. So each pencil is going to cost you 12 cents. But you're not using an entire pencil, you're just using a tiny part of 1 pencil, and that means the graphite used, the part of the pencil used, is only an additional penny. What do you do here? End up with 0.005 or 0.05 pesos. Total your column. You're only spending 2 cents for each card. Most of what goes into this product is your talent. You go down here, that comes out to be 0.10 pesos each. And again, you can get your pricing from here. What are you going to charge for this card? Well, at only 1/10 of a peso for each, you could sell them 9 for a peso. But again, you want to maximize your profits as much as you can do. If it's a very nice card, maybe you can get a peso for it. Maybe you can get 2 cards for a peso. The highest price you can get, that's what you're looking for. Now, of course, the customer is looking to pay as little as they possibly can. And when those two meet, a price a customer is willing to pay and a price a person is willing to sell for, that's called market equilibrium. That's what the actual cost is. When you go into a Walgreens and you're looking for some aspirin, you take a look at the bottle of aspirin, and if it's marked $3.98, that's telling you that enough people have come in and said, I won't pay more than that. And enough sellers have said, I'd like to get more, but I can't. And that's what it meant. That's where the market is. All right, so here you have it for a two-item product with two pieces of material in there. Very simple. You get your cost in dollars, you translate it to your cost in pesos. It's already, in this case, in individual units. So you end up, this is the key number here. The amount in pesos that you are paying to produce each unit that you pass over the counter to the customer. All right, let's go for one that's a little more complicated now. This is the last one, so if you haven't followed to this point, you probably want to go back and look at these things again, because this one's got just a little more juice to it. All right. In this case, you are going to be making chocolate cake. Okay, chocolate cake. We're going to start out with a box cake mix. So our box cake mix, we shopped at Walmart. We got a deal. It's $1.50. Remember, you're going to need receipts. That's a pretty low price. Most of the time, they're up over $2. Could be more than 3. Could be a little less than 2. We need to see that you've actually paid that amount. And when you translate that into pesos, again, remember, you're not doing times 6. You're doing times 5 this year. 5 pesos to $1. That would translate into 7.50 pesos paid for the cake mix. You then have 1/3 cup oil. Well, oil comes in big bottles, and you have found that you can pay $3.59, and that will give you 32 fluid ounces. All right, remember, this is so important. You take a look at this, you can get discouraged. You say, how do I get fluid ounces, figure out cups? Well, what do I do for this? The answer is so easy. This is the kind of thing that Google is perfect for. If you go on Google, you'll find out that 1/3 of a cup of oil cut into 32 fluid ounces is almost exactly 1/12 of it. And this does work out when you take 1/12 of the price to be about 30 cents. All right, so that 30 cents translated into pesos comes out to be 1.50 pesos. Next, you have to add 2 eggs. You don't buy eggs individually, you get them for a dozen. Looking around at prices today, I see a $2.40 dozen eggs for sale. And I'm only going to use 2 of them. So that turns out to be, if you do the division, 240 divided by 12 eggs gives you 20 cents an egg. So the 2 eggs you are going to use would cost 40 cents. Again, using the 5-to-1 ratio, translating the 40 cents into pesos gives you exactly 2 more pesos. What else have we got here? You're going to go the easy route. You're going to get a can of frosting. And that is going to be, we'll make this just Walmart price again. They were having a sale, $1.50, which is an additional 7.50 pesos. Now I'm going to do things a little bit differently here because I want to show that there are some other things that have to go into selling a cake. You can't just hand somebody a piece of cake. So I'm going to stop here and find out what the cost per slice of the cake was. The total cost of the cake, this adds up to $3.70. And translated over, this is, oops, second. This is 18.50 pesos. I'm going to get from my cake 18 slices. That's what I'm going to sell as an individual unit. 18 slices, so I divide these things by 18. And what am I going to come up with? Taking my total number of pesos that it costs to make the cake, divide it by 18, means that I have a cost for that piece of cake of 1.03 pesos. That's the cost of the cake only. Now there are some other things that are involved. I'm going to draw a little bit of a line here so we have the difference. All right, there we go, out to the cost of the cake. But I need some other things. I'm going to need to give people a napkin. All right, a napkin, guess where I'm going? You got it, the dollar store. So there's $1, and for that I can get 200 napkins, a pack of 200 napkins. Well, $1 divided by 200 gives me 0.005 cents. Now I know I went past 2 decimal places, but there is a little cost there. Multiply that by 5 and it only comes up to 0.03 pesos, but I do have to include that. Then I'm going to have to put that piece of cake onto a paper plate. And paper plates, also running over to my friend Walmart, I discover I can buy for $3.42. I can get 100 paper plates. And when we figure out what that costs, do our division, you come up with 0.03 cents. Translate that into pesos, it costs me 0.15 peso per paper plate. Finally, you have a plastic fork. People aren't going to eat with their fingers. So we have a plastic fork. And I can pick up for $5.72, can get a package of 100. And that would translate into 572 divided by 100 would give me a cost of, doing the rounding, 6 cents, which would translate into 0.30 pesos. All right, my total extras, that is the things, not the cake, that would be the napkins, the papers, paper plate, and the forks. The total extras here add this column, the 0.005, the 0.03, the 0.06, and that would give me 10 cents. It's going to cost me 10 cents to put the piece of cake onto a plate, give them a napkin, give them a fork. Multiply out, without doing the rounding there, this is going to give me 0.48. To get this, there had some rounding involved. I just used the pure numbers in there. All right, that's going to tell me when I add this up, 0.48 for the plate. Now I have a total of 36 cents. Over here, oops, 151 there. That's these numbers. And then I have my 18 pieces. What's it going to cost me? Or what's the cost going to be? 1.51. That's adding cost of the cake, the cost of the paper goods that went with it, totals 1.51 pesos. Over here, it's 0.036 using the costs up above. So I know that I have 1.51 pesos. I can't sell these for a peso. I can't sell these for, I could sell them for 2 pesos. We could do that. I can't sell them 2 pieces for 3 because that would go over 3. Remember, it doesn't matter how big your profit is, but you must show a profit. That's the most important thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have further questions, remember, ask in a timely fashion. It does no good to run up at the start of market day. Mr. Goddard and I are exceptionally busy at that time.
One last point before we go. This is Mr. G. I've been trolling. You cannot use BA's paper plates, napkins, or plasticware for your BAME business. Those are items purchased by the school for school functions, not for your private use. If you took them, you must replace them and or pay for them. So that is not a free cost for you. This came up in several of my classes today. I just want to make sure that point is very clear.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hasta la vista, babies. Please don't tell me this thing stopped recording.
No, really?
I'm not seeing it on here. Let's see.
That was a lot of bad.